Hey guys, what's going on out there? I'm very excited to be back doing this commentary. If you are a subscriber, you would know or remember that I actually used to contribute to commentary for the Real Housewives of Atlanta before. I was very excited after watching the previews and the promos about this season, and I wanted to make a point of jumping back on here and being back at it again. So, as I usually say, thank you again so much for tuning in to Talks with Tim. I am your host, Timothy Boston, and here's what we are talking about this week. Season 7 of The Real Housewives of Atlanta, Episode 1. I'm just going to be a little bit honest with you. I was a little disappointed in the very first episode. I was expecting a little bit more excitement based off of how they were gearing us all up for the return of the season. But let's just jump right into it. Basically, we saw Nene, and, of course, she had the very first segment, but we saw Nene being prepped for her run with Zumanity in Las Vegas. You saw Nene, having Greg right there by her side, which he tends to always be. Um, and you also saw Candy. Candy is settling in after being newlyweds with her husband Todd, and apparently Todd's daughter from a relationship outside of the relationship with Candy, is coming to Atlanta to move with them, and of course, they're going through the whole motions of who's going to do what and how it's going to benefit the children and how the relationship may change and etc. And then I think the biggest moment of the night, was Phaedra, and seeing Phaedra go through the situation with Apollo, and having to make the decision not to be present at Apollo's sentencing. Apparently, Apollo pled guilty in federal court for the charges for some charges relating to fraud and conspiracy and identity theft and etc. And Phaedra made the decision that she was not going to subject her children nor herself to continued criticism surrounding the situation. So she went several miles outside of Atlanta, and she stayed in a hotel until the media madness was over. Now, as a publicist, I can tell you that I agree with her. I thought that this was a very, very wise choice to be away from the situation. However, when it came to actually not being a little bit more supportive, from what Apollo was saying, he feels like Phaedra should have been a little bit more supportive. I'm not going to really get into that situation, but I think that she had to make a decision, and she feels as though that her decision was justified in what she did. And they had a lot of emotions tonight. Apollo was crying. Phaedra had a visit from her mom and Candy, and she's still very much so saying, my decision is justified. So also what I saw is that Apollo wanting to end the marriage with Phaedra, and we all understand that this show was taped several months ago, and now we know that since Apollo has reported to federal prison, that he and Phaedra are actually in an active divorce proceeding. So this appears to be actually what the both of them were speaking about on camera. The feelings were definitely very mutual. And then you saw Cynthia, who she says that since the end of her relationship with Nene, her friendship with Nene, which had been rocky for a few seasons already, but she feels like she's on a fresh start, and she has some new space that her and Peter moved into because of some business transactions that had went wrong. She has some new modeling clients going on. So she really, really, really is on a fresh start. And I find it interesting that that Cynthia believes that since her and Nene are no longer friends, that her life and her marriage are a little bit better. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that they both were very good friends to each other, and I think that I think that things happen, and I think everything takes its course. Um, and it was also very, very, very interesting to see how the entire cast had their opinions about whether or not Phaedra should have been present at the sentencing. But like I said, I think Phaedra made a conscious decision. She feels like her decision was in the best interest of her children and herself and her reputation. And I think that I think that she's entitled to that. We did not see anything about the two new cast members on tonight's show, so I'll be looking forward to seeing that next week. I'm really, really hoping that I'm not leaving anything out. It really, really wasn't too much going on tonight. So, if I missed anything, please go ahead and put it in the content area. I'm sorry, in the comment area. Just let me know what you thought about tonight's episode. If you were a little bit more disappointed like I was, or just tell me what you thought. Again, I'll be back next Sunday with another commentary, another review of episode 2. But again, thank you so much for watching. Again, my name is Timothy Boston, and again, you've tuned in to Talks with Tim.